So far, we've looked at food wrappers, logos, advertisements, photographs, charts, and much, much more. Hill and Helmers raise a really important question when they ask, okay, what should we be looking at? And how? Using what tools and terminology? Cindy Self offers what I think is a maybe purposefully clunky but very lovely definition of visual literacy. She situates it as I situate it for this class, related to understanding and analyzing, and also to using and creating. And she also ties visual literacy tightly to historical and cultural constructions. Karen Shriver, whose book Dynamics and Document Design, which is perhaps the most important book on visual communication in existence right now, describes document design. So you can see we're kind of skirting a bit here, right? Visual literacy, document design. Shriver's definition really appeals to me. Shriver also advocates consistently for readers and users and situates writing and document design in tandem with changing devices, tools, and spaces. Maureen Goggin, quoted by some of the folks we read today, gets directly at how slippery visual rhetoric is and how it can be deployed to study everything from texts on pages to public memorials. If we turn back to Aces and Lupton, they remind us that one way we can approach this is to not parcel things out, but rather to recognize that meaning is a matter of relationships. Mary Hacks and Michelle Kendrick similarly noted that the relationships between the visual and the verbal are dialogic, and that we should perhaps celebrate and work at the connections of words and images, rather than work to pull them apart. W.J.T. Mitchell, also cited by a lot of this week's authors, bemoaned the fact that we, due to our institutions and disciplines and for other reasons, tend to separate the visual and the verbal. He argued that we need to work in that space of influence where texts and images rub up against one another. In a special issue of Enculturation, David Blakesley and Colin Brooke riffed on this same topic, saying, "Things aren't so different. Let's think about the ways in which words and images are inseparably bound." They connected the turn in rhetoric and composition, and actually it's a return, to the visual, as linked to the technologies of the 2000s. And if we turn back just a little bit earlier in the 1990s, J. David Bolter had said, hey, if we're going to take this newfangled electronic communication seriously, we're going to have to take graphics seriously. He wrote this at a time in the early 1990s before the internet could even support graphics. Anne Wysocki, along with encouraging us to turn our eyes back to Aristotle, also reminded us that we can't ignore our bodies, our messy, gendered, raced, aged, nationalized, digesting bodies. Indeed, our bodies are our most important writing machines. Kathy Yancey compellingly argued in Composition in a New Key that the proliferation of new technologies is dramatically shifting our literacy landscape, in part because of the ways in which people are writing together, thinking together, organizing together, and acting together. And she's quick to note that they're doing so without our instruction, without our assignments, our rubrics, our assessments, without our classrooms. So this is just a couple of takeaways from all of this, and these are takeaways that scaffold this week's activities and the rest of this class. As Mary Hacks so eloquently put it, in a piece we'll read just down the road, all writing is hybrid. All writing is hybrid. And, as I would argue, and obviously as others have, writing and design are inherently connected. Form cannot be separated from function. Writing means more than just words on a page or a screen. As writers and as writing teachers, we have to be aware of the meaning-making tools available to us. Writing, drawing on Shriver, means designing and architecting information and designing useful, readable, audience-appropriate documents requires critical, thoughtful, and careful rhetorical consideration. So here's my definition of visual rhetoric. Your third activity for class, after writing a blog post introducing yourself and writing a blog post responding to the visual cultural analysis prompt, is to create your own illuminated definition of visual rhetoric.